Going in Style is directed by Zach Braff, written by Theodore Melfi. It's based on the film directed by Martin Brest and stars Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, and Alan Arkin. And Going in Style is about three elderly men who get screwed over by their own banks and companies and decide to rob their money back. Now, I gotta admit that I had initially no plans on seeing Going in Style until I started seeing press junket interviews with the three lead actors, and I just love all of these guys, so I was sold. I thought it would be fun to see these three actors in a comedy together. Unfortunately, this movie does lack a lot in the comedy department, which is a bad thing for a comedy. Its direction also doesn't quite fit its script. However, these three guys are really just so fun to watch and kind of make the whole thing sort of worth watching. Now, unfortunately, like with many comedies, this film is unremarkable in terms of its visuals. Nothing really stands out in terms of production design or cinematography, which sucks because filmmakers like Edgar Wright or Wes Anderson really have proven that comedy can and should be visual too. But, you know, this movie, like a lot of other comedies, they don't really take advantage of the cinematic medium, so they're unremarkable. In terms of sound and music as well, nothing really stands out. The score here, which is by Rob Simonson, isn't bad by any means, but it's just kind of generic and it's played over everything even when it doesn't fit the scene. This isn't Simonson's fault though, but I will put the blame on Zach Braff as the director. While I was watching this movie, I felt it was pretty clear that there was a disconnect between Zach Braff's direction and the screenplay, because Theodore Melfi's script has a lot of doses of pretty weighty drama in between like the wacky comedy scenes. It's definitely not a perfect script. It could have had far more development for the side characters, and especially for how the plot ties up in the end. However, the three protagonists are thankfully pretty complex. However, given all of this material, Zach Braff ends up directing this film mostly as a straight comedy. Like I said, he plays music in the background of almost every scene, and it does end up robbing the material of a lot of emotion. A lot of these emotionally complex moments are sort of reduced because they're played just for laughs. So I will give credit to Zach Braff for how he directs some parts towards the end of the movie, because this is kind of like a heist film as well, and those elements do work better than some of the other like throwaway comedic scenes. But overall, Going in Style just doesn't really have a consistent tone about it. It's also really choppy all the way through. The editor here, Myron I. Kirstein, stretches out scenes of comedy far longer after the joke has landed. It's like he put in multiple takes of each individual moment, which kind of ruins the comedic timing because it just feels like, you know, they're trying to keep you laughing even after the joke is over. However, like I mentioned a while ago, this trio of leads they're really the reason why this movie isn't anywhere near being like a straight up bad movie. You've got Michael Caine, who is arguably the real main character in this movie, and he gets to show a bit of an angrier side to him, which is something we don't, you know, get to see that often. But he does have a lot of funny parts as well. Morgan Freeman in this movie thankfully isn't just phoning it in as he does with a lot of other generic movies. Here it really seems like he's having a lot of fun. He is funny as well. But there are some moments where he just kind of has a straight face on, and just from that straight face he manages to pull out like a ton of real raw emotion. It's really impressive. And then of course you got Alan Arkin, who is just comedy gold. Like I feel kind of bad that I only really found out about Alan Arkin from Little Miss Sunshine, from Argo. But he is just so funny in everything he does, everything he says, just how he moves. And all of these guys just have such great chemistry with each other. It really feels like they believed in this material and they were really just having fun with each other, which is something I always love to see. As a whole though, Going in Style is not really a good movie, I would say. I imagine it would be a good time for older audiences who can appreciate light comedies. I can't recommend it to everybody unless you're like a huge fan of any of these three main actors, so, you know, if you are, go for it. Alright, so those are my thoughts on Going in Style. Have you guys seen it? What do you think about it? Whatever you guys think, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.